Nearly 6 million people in England and Wales could become eligible to be stripped of their British citizenship without warning under new plans proposed by the government. Mainly, the new rules will apply excessively to people from non-white ethnic minorities. According to census, 2 in every 5 people from an ethnic minority could be eligible to be deprived of their British citizenship, compared to just 1 in 20 people from a white background.
Office particularly to do is to strip the citizenship without notice of people that it believes could gain citizenship somewhere else. So, in essence, allow people who are foreign born or whose parents were foreign born to be revoked of their citizenship on the premise that they might be able to claim citizenship somewhere else. So,
more than 200,000 people have signed a petition to remove Clause 9 from the Nationality and Border Bill.
This is the biggest attack on international human rights and refugee law that Britain has ever seen.
Yeah, they must get rid of Clause 9. But Clause 9 is just the beginning. Because as I say, all of that, it's right at the top of this structure of racist citizenship laws. And so that whole structure has to be demolished. It cannot be right that you get a white native British person with no foreign heritage who can commit the worst crimes in the world, the worst terrorism, whatever, and can go to prison, but that's the end of it. They go to prison and full stop. And you get the same, that a person with South Asian heritage or some other heritage, so somebody who has another nationality who commits exactly the same offence and who loses their citizenship, loses their home, loses everything.
If the Home Office say that citizenship is a privilege and not a right, why they are really saying for a lot of white people, citizenship remains a right, whereas for a lot of black and brown British people from ethnic minority heritage are treated as second-class citizens. Anyone with dual citizenship can already have their citizenship revoked if the Home Secretary believes that it is in the public interest to do so. Even though the government can remove citizenship with people without dual nationality, as long as they were born outside the UK and their behaviour is considered seriously prejudicial to vital British interest.
Because it's easy to kind of meet targets of reducing immigration and all the rest of it. So I think it's very dangerous. I think it is a recipe for splitting up families, for making people not feel secure in their right to live in this country. No one should have to go through the stress of not knowing if for any reason today or in the future they might have to, they might be kicked out of the country. Let alone children having to worry about that. So I think it's extremely prejudicial towards children. And I think, we will see the impacts of that, unfortunately.
Clause 9 of the draft bill states that the government does not need to notify those revoked of their citizenship if it does not have their contact details or it is for any other reason not reasonably practicable to do so. The big question, which isn't really answered by the legislation, is what happens when you know about it. Will you then be entitled to appeal? How will you be able to appeal? What will the process be?
There was 104 people who lost their citizenship. Then the figures went down again. Up until very recently, it was only used in national security cases because originally it was for things like treason and, trading with Her Majesty's enemies and things like that it was used for. Once it becomes used in the criminal sphere for ordinary criminal offences, you can envisage that it could become used more and more and more often for less and less and less serious offences, which is exactly what's happened in the field of deportation. it used to be the case that you would not be deported if you were not British. Obviously, we're talking about people who are not British.
The National Declaration for Human Rights in 1948 sets out all the rights to which we are all entitled by virtue of being human. As a matter for practice, you need a nationality in order to get access to these rights. So will the government reply to the petition by giving every citizen their rights? Hiba Abu Hamida, Keys News.
And it seems to me entirely inappropriate that we should make one of our strategies that of being able to take away citizenship from people who very often have lived here since they were 1 or 2 years old. Very often, if they were sent to the other country, which they've never been to and don't speak the language anymore, they will face summary execution. At least one case that applies. Where stands our belief against the capital punishment, which most of the people in this House espouse? So this is an uncivilized, legally disputable removal of the rights of people who may not be good people, but then put them in front of our courts and punish them. That's the way British justice will work, that's the way British democracy should work, and that's what we should do today.